My note from me this week comes to us courtesy of the National Press Club and its cancelling of a talk by American journalist Chris Hedges. So, just a little bit of background. The National Press Club is like an ideas forum, I guess you can say. They bring speakers out. The audience is, the folks of Canberra, lots of journalists, lots of policy people,
Yeah.
stakeholders, to
Yeah.
use that word. And Chris Hedges was due to speak on the 20th of October.
If you've maybe heard of the National Press Club, it's because the ABC also broadcasts some of its addresses, not all of it. And so you can watch the full address on ABC 24 from time to time, depending on their schedule.
Yeah.
A little bit about who Chris Hedges is. He's a Pulitzer Prize-winning journo. He's worked at the New York Times for 15 years. He was a foreign correspondent and bureau chief in the Middle East and the Balkans. He's an author. He now co-hosts the Chris Hedges Report. He's got 180,000 subscribers on Substack. He was due in particular to speak about how the Western media has failed to truthfully report on the Gaza genocide. That's what his press club address was about.
Yes, yep.
And to speak about our slain and murdered colleagues in Gaza.
His focus was on journalism.
Journalism,
basically.
Yes.
However, on Friday, he wrote a piece on his Substack saying that the National Press Club had caved to the pro-Israel lobby and cancelled his talk. He said that the announcement of his talk had disappeared from the website of the National Press Club, and he said that reportedly the Israeli ambassador was being considered to speak instead.
Yes.
Right? We have to be very clear. The National Press Club released a statement on Sunday, a day or so later,
Yes.
saying that the club had tentatively agreed to a date with Mr. Hedges and that it's constantly reviewing its schedule, and when the details of the address were made available, they decided to pursue other speakers, right? They also they said that there was a bunch of factual inaccuracies in what he had said.
I did read the press release because I had originally retweeted Chris Hedges' article when it came out, quoting Chris Hedges and his allegations. Also in that press release that NPC put out, they denied it had caved to any outside pressure, denied that his proposed address was ever published on its website, and denied his talk was being cancelled to make way for the Israeli ambassador. So I was like, oh, this is like something doesn't stack up. There's a lot of he said, she said, and it doesn't sound, what's going on?
Yeah, there's a lot of he said, she said. We've got the emails between the National Press Club and Chris Hedges' team, and that is the Australian Friends of Palestine Association. It is a little bit more than tentatively agreed to a date with Chris Hedges. So an email dated September 8 includes a confirmation letter signed by the CEO of the press club where the subject line is confirmation National Press Club address, right? In that email, the CEO asks for a headshot, they ask for a bio, they ask for the theme of the talk. So it's pretty progressed in where they're at. Like they've locked the man in as per the email. So I'm not really buying like this tentatively booked in a date. We reached out to the National Press Club. To their credit, they did get back to us. The CEO said that the address was confirmed, but subject to further details being provided. That was not made clear in any of the emails that I saw, basically.
Well, the subject line of the email was confirmation.
Yes.
And that goes against what was said in the press release.
Indeed it does. So I think you confirmed with the man and then you withdrew that confirmation.
Just as a little aside, I know that the National Press Club had been in talks with Chris Hedges for a few months because I'm doing an event in Sydney with Chris Hedges, and my event our event together with Randa Abdul Fattah kept having to get moved because oh no, National Press Club, we're waiting to get back. Oh, we've got the confirmation. Now he's going to be in Canberra on this date. So can we move your event in Sydney to this other date? So perhaps
he got dicked around. There's no two ways of looking at it.
But also he got confirmed because our event in Sydney had to get moved so that he could make the Canberra event.
Right.
So it's probably also why I was quick to believe when Chris Hedges put out his statement, also obviously because he's a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist with an excellent reputation, that this indeed had happened.
Right. Okay. Well, to be clear, again, the press club is vehemently adamant that they did not capitulate to any outside pressure and that the decision was made. And this is what they've said in the emails to Hedges' team. They said, we had a review of our speaker program. We're receiving an excess of proposals in favour for the Palestinian cause, which is understandable in the current environment. I have decided that in the interest of balancing out our program, we will withdraw our offer and respectively decline your proposal.
Okay.
That's what Chris Hedges was told. Even if you were to take the press club at its word that there was no outside influence at all, that they didn't capitulate, that the Israeli ambassador is not speaking, which they vehemently denied that he is, Like, this reads as bad to me.
Mm.
The idea that, like, a couple of things about this don't sit right with me.
Balance out the program.
Oh my God, balance out the program. That's number one. But we'll come to that in a second. We are receiving an excess of proposals in favour for the Palestine cause. He then goes on to name a few.
Yes, Chris Sidoti and Ben Saul, who were just on. By the way, a lot of the Edirati did listen to that and try to suggest that as a yes for you, saying that was an excellent address. It was really important. It was great. And they watched it. So, yeah, I mean, they're excellent people. Are they for the Palestinian cause, or are they evidence-based scholars of human rights, international law and genocide?
Like, see, this is what I had like a little bit of a question mark around, because he names those folks, and then he also says, you know, Judge Navi Pillay is speaking, James Elder from UNICEF is speaking, and they're cited as examples of people speaking in favour for the Palestinian cause. And I'm like, hang on a second, Navi Pillay is a judge. She doesn't speak on any cause. That's not what she does.
She speaks on the weight of evidence.
She speaks on the weight of evidence. James Elder is from UNICEF.
Yeah.
He's not speaking for the Palestinian cause. Like, these are not examples of that. An example of someone speaking for the Palestinian cause would be a Palestinian who's talking about Palestinian liberation from occupation.
Yeah.
Sure. If you called that the Palestinian cause, I'd say, yeah, I guess that is speaking for the Palestinian cause, which I don't think they've ever had, by the way.
I haven't seen any Palestinians in the past couple of years. We did have the Israeli ambassador in late 2023. Haven't seen any Palestinians address the National Press Club. Also haven't seen any journalists speaking specifically to journalism at the National Press Club. One would think, balancing out a program about national press issues, you may want to decide on somebody who speaks about press issues more specifically. So let's accept that they weren't influenced by external pressures. This makes me, in some ways, more alarmed, because it's the kind of self-censoring and false balancing that people begin to do within organisations, as we know they do in newsrooms, because they foresee an attack. They start to temper their language, temper their programs, change things in anticipation of these attacks, which is in some ways just worse, because that means silencing and lobbying is working without even having to exert overt pressure. It works anyway.
It's the best kind of lobbying. Just do nothing. Just like, people will internalize it.
Just breathe deeply and scare people.
I think we need to be clear. It's like, we don't know I don't know what happened with the National Press Club, right? Like, I can only go off the evidence that we have in terms of what they have said to Chris Hedges' team and what he said back, right? I just know from experience, as you say in newsrooms, that this idea of balancing out the program is something that ends up actually skewing the truth. And I'll give you an example. I worked in a newsroom, this was some years ago, well before October 7, right? But it was still about Israel, Gaza. I think there was an incursion into Gaza at the time, and we were looking to cover it. And I think we had
I hate the word incursion. It sounds like a fun excursion with children.
It was just like, you know, fucked bombing in Gaza.
Yeah.
You know, I can't remember the death toll. It was high.
Yeah.
We're looking to cover it. And I think we had a Palestinian person who was ready to talk, and we did not have an Israeli person, which already there's like issues with that, I understand. But we're trying to get, like, if you got a Palestinian voice, you get an Israeli voice. The other option was to have someone from a humanitarian organization, right? Who's not Palestinian, who's not Israeli, who's someone that works for this organization that can give us an overview of what is happening on the ground. I pitched several humanitarian organizations that had people on the ground at the time. And there was people in the newsroom who were like, they're just going to come down on the side of the Palestinians. So we need to get an Israeli. We need to get an Israeli voice. And I was like, hey, hang on a second. They will say what they need to say. Like, we're going to them
based on their expertise.
Correct. About what the situation on the ground is. What they say is what they say, right? Like, it's not coming down on any side. It's telling you the truth of what is happening. Like, either you believe that these organizations are objective organizations that are here to tell you the truth, or you don't. And if you're putting an Israeli voice to quote unquote balance out the program or whatever it is, then actually what you're doing is just skewing the truth.
Yeah.
So I've seen this happen time and time and time again.
The other thing that was sort of the he said, she said didn't add up, and there were some screen grabs doing the rounds on social media, was beyond confirmation whether it had gone up on the website, because Chris Hedges had alleged in that article that they've taken my talk down from the website. We saw this screen grab with Chris Hedges' headshot, again, which we saw in the email exchange. They asked for a headshot. You don't ask for a headshot if you're not sure about it. We've done many speaking events. It's like event confirmed, send us a headshot. We're going to put it up on your website. It's just the next step. And the price of the ticket, which is $85, $95. And so you went to the National Press Club and said, well, if this wasn't taken down from your website, please explain this picture and number. And it's dated September the 8th, which is
when they sent the confirmation email to Chris Hedges' team. Yes, they have no answer for this. They don't know what it is. They say it's weird and that they never posted about Chris Hedges on that date. That's the best that they can offer. I did not see it on their website personally because there's nothing there when you go there.
Yes.
So that's just like another
he said, she
something
said,
that just doesn't quite add up.
Yeah. Look, the truth is we haven't spoken to Chris Hedges specifically as to why he alleged there was pressure or why he was so explicit and specific about who would be replacing him, where he suggests the Israeli ambassador. And I understand why it was easy to believe that there was outside pressure because obviously in my case, in so many cases, in writers' festivals at universities, there's been outside pressure again and again and evidence of it. So I think the public were quick to go, yep, we understand that that's what happened. But in some ways, I would argue that even if there was an outside pressure and this was an internal decision, in some ways it's worse because you're using this sense of balance, balancing out the program, and I would argue preempting criticism and attacks from said lobby groups. And I mean, that's how self-censoring works.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing is that they were probably just like, I don't know, there's just too much Palestinian stuff.
But also not acknowledging, but no Palestinians and no one specifically speaking about journalism.
Yeah.
Still too much Palestinian stuff.
Yeah, in the middle of a genocide.
Yeah.
Like, forgive me, but wouldn't this be the time to have
lots?
Yeah, heaps, I would say.
Yeah.
Now. Because if you don't have an emphasis on Palestinian stuff or Palestinian voices now, like, when are you going to do it?
Yeah.
We're 2 years into a genocide. When are you going to do it? You're never going to do it. You're never going to do it. So, like, that's the point. And, like, I spoke to a bunch of people. And my question is, like, why did it have to be one or the other? Like, why couldn't Chris Hedges have still spoken at the National Press Club?
Because of this belief that a judge, someone who works for the UN, that these people are for the Palestinian cause rather than for international law, human rights.
Yeah.
So that is like my heart hurts no. I know that was your no, but that's how I feel about this no. I feel a bit sad about it.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. For our subscribers, we will be breaking a lot of this down in our newsletter. You'll get to see some of the questions that we put to the National Press Club, their response as well. We'll make sure that we put that up there, and just a little bit of a timeline as to how this all happened and what we know. So if you want to get all of that, do go to entmedia.com and hit that subscribe button.